So it seems that Lucas Paquetá has got in trouble because of what was on his old phone. I'm going to deal with that in just a second. That's the breaking news today for West Ham. I was going to come on here and talk about a swap deal between Loftus-Cheek and Edson Alvarez. Basically, AC Milan want to swap Ruben Loftus-Cheek for Edson Alvarez, and I was going to talk about that today, but this is a better story, quite frankly. I mean, let's be honest, it ain't going to happen. I'd like to swap my cheese sandwich for lunch for Five Guys, but I'm not sure Five Guys will be ultimately too pleased with that deal, so it ain't going to happen. I'm going to have my cheese sandwich. They're going to keep Ruben Loftus-Cheek. We might deal with it a little bit later on, possibly not, because the breaking news is about Lucas Paquetá's phone. First of all, massive thank you to Gatesy, to Bob, and to Chris for sending in their fan cams. Great stuff, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. Keep them coming. Bob, I did like your faux pas, your erotic comment. Very, very good. He didn't do anything erotic in a video, by the way, just in case you're going to go back and watch it. Don't expect anything fruity. Okay, look, ordinarily I don't like to necessarily read from videos, but on videos, because I just find it doesn't work particularly well. But this is, I haven't read enough of it enough times to paraphrase it. So it basically says Lucas Paquetá's old phone is behind 2 new FA charges in his betting case. So let's just deal with that. 2 new betting charges. That's not great. I mean, it wasn't great before, was it? And it basically goes on to say that could mean a lifetime ban. Says the West Ham star handed his mobile to the FA 12 months ago. That's his old mobile, basically. Sounds like what you do with your kids. They get your old mobile, but make sure you wipe it first. I think that's that's the point, really. No, I don't think Lucas Paquetá could have done that. He would have been in trouble. After they began investigating suspicious betting patterns, we know all about that, about the bookings. It said the FA kept Paquetá's phone for around 8 weeks last autumn, while investigators analysed his call log, messages, and bank records. During sorry, this isn't even fun. I just find it funny. Stuff like this is funny while you'd put that in the middle of an article. During that period, Paquetá bought a replacement handset. Well, of course he bloody did, because he wouldn't be able to phone or text anyone. And he probably needed to place a bet or something. Anyway, that's a joke. Thank you. But after the FA returned his original phone, he threw it out in a fateful decision that added to his rap sheet. Well, you can tell how far I've read. I didn't know this bit. Sun Sport, that's where the article has come from. So I would ordinarily say take it with a pinch of salt. And I do think they have been making some stuff up recently. But I don't know. This is the sort of stuff that if you make this up, this is litigious stuff. This is... If someone made this up about you, then and it was wrong, you sue them, basically. So I'm not so sure. Anyway, it says Sun Sport has learned that at a later date, the FA went back to the Brazil playmaker to ask for more access to his phone, as there were further details the investigation team wanted to check, but he wasn't able to locate it, probably because he chucked it out. He threw it out in a fateful decision. Those are strong words. As a result, the FA accused him of obstructing their probe. Ooh, sounds nasty. With the charges issued in May, including 2 aggravated breaches for non-cooperation. Aggravated breaches. Paquetá was originally accused of being deliberately booked in Premier League games against Leicester, Aston Villa, Leeds, Bournemouth, blah, blah, blah. In addition, a 27-year-old was charged with 2 breaches. Okay, right, so here's now I have an understanding for it. Basically, Paquetá was originally, he had the original charges. He gave him the phone. He got the phone back and he went, "Oh, phone!" like that. And then the FA came back to him and said, "Can we have that phone, please? We need to check some other, whatever, bank records, messages, or whatever the case may be." And he said, "I don't have the phone. When you gave it back to me, I had the £10 stamped on the phone, and that's it." So they've given him 2 more charges. Right, okay. So if I've got my head around this, I'm not a legal man, or even a particularly good reader of articles, as you'd have ascertained. But they're going to get him for something. Even if they don't get him for the initial bookings or whatever the case, the bets being placed on those bookings that we mentioned earlier, I think they'll certainly get him for basically obstructing their inquiry. which is pretty crap, really, isn't it? So I think he's got, at best, he has a fine. At the very best. But I think there's definitely a ban coming. And I say I think, I don't know. Now, I don't know if you remember, a couple of weeks ago we did a video because it turned out that the Spanish FA was liaising with the English FA because of, I might have this wrong, so apologies to any Real Betis fans watching. I doubt there are any. So there's none. Let's be fair. There's no Real Betis fans watching this video. But if there are, I apologise. I think the suggestion was... This sounds absolutely bizarre. I've got the sentence in my head before I say it. But here it is. That Lucas Paqueta's uncle Bruno had bet on the West Ham v Bournemouth game that Paqueta would get a card. He'd won some money and gave £5,000 of it to a Real Betis striker. That sounds really weird and really obscure. I can't attest to how much truth there is in that. Just trying to cover myself legally. I don't know any of this. This is all a surprise, a shock, and a massive disappointment to me personally, by the way, because it's such a shame. It's such a shame. It does appear it's a funny old club to support, West Ham. Maybe other teams have this stuff, but it doesn't. From the outside, from the inside looking out, it doesn't appear that they do. He looked better Paqueta against Ipswich. Not fully, but improved. Let's say an improved version of him. Not just the goal either. The way he was involved in the build-up, a few new nice 1-2s with Jared Bowen and all that type of stuff. Brilliant. Really good. This is, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Chris alluded to it in his video yesterday, his fan cam. And he said he would not be, surprised if Paqueta's mental health is really suffering at the moment. I would definitely imagine so. With something like this, it's uncertainty, something as uncertain as this hanging over you. And I think it showed he's not been himself. And you see it in his gameplay. Paqueta's not as a shadow of his old self. Yeah, absolutely. And you understand why. If you remember when, and it was different. It was a different case. But if you remember when Lee Bowyer and Jonathan Woodgate both had, basically, I think they got into fisticuffs. I think they got into a punch-up one. They were out in the town, they were playing for Leeds, got into a punch-up or something like that, and had this court case hanging over them for ages, which may or may not, at that time, they didn't know would have resulted in a custodial sentence. Bowyer just carried on playing. He was just the same. Nothing changed. The weight of the... did you know Lee Bowyer's Mark Noble's cousin, just in case you didn't? The weight of the trial looming in front of him did not bother him at all. But Jonathan Woodgate, he was never the same again. Never the same again. I mean, he absolutely crumbled. You could see he lost weight, he was drawn, he was gaunt. He was an absolute shell of himself. He did not look well at all. And just things like this, I know this is different, but it is still, go back to the top of that, the very top there, where it said it could mean a lifetime ban. You can understand how that stuff would weigh heavily upon you, particularly if, which they are, his family are involved. So Uncle Bruno, his cousin as well, other people on Paqueta Island. I don't know how that works. You end up... It's a tough one, to be fair, for the FA to investigate. The only thing perhaps I'm reading more into this than I should do, but the thought has only occurred to me. So bear with me on this one. He gives his phone to the FA, so they want to look at whatever it said, bank records and call logs and messages and that sort of thing. So they look at that and they don't give it back to him. They must have been really thorough on that. And everything that they wanted to look for, they looked for. So I can only assume that after they gave him the phone back, probably beat his record on Angry Birds or something like that, didn't they? After they gave the phone back, that would annoy me. After they gave him the phone back, they found some more evidence. Or there was something else, not even more, just more evidence, more something. Another story emerged. And they possibly thought, Okay, that's something new. Let's go and check that back on Lucas Paqueta's phone. And then they didn't get the phone back because he got rid of it. If that's the case, am I reading too much into this? Maybe they didn't really have enough before. Which, I mean, they possibly don't have enough now. So possibly the only two things they might have on him were the obstruction of justice or aggravated whatever it was called. I don't know. This doesn't look good. I cannot see a happy ending for this. I really can't. Yes, it's a bit depressing. It's depressing as a West Ham fan. What it must be for him, I don't know. It looks, what can you do? Anyway, as you probably know, they said we're gonna find out in March. Apparently, that's the most likely date. A West Ham source has said that is the most likely date, but it's not set in stone. Important to remember that, not set in stone March yet. But I think he's going to be hearing very soon. He's going to be hearing when the hearing will be, and it's going to be in the new year. It will be around that sort of time. It will be February, March, April. Something like that. And we may even get him for the rest of the season. We may do. But yeah, there you go. There's your Lucas Paqueta update.